In this module, we will cover what are all the methods using which we can create virtual machines that can save our time and make our deployment process easy. So this will cover two lessons. So lesson 1 is virtual machine concepts. Now in this lesson, we will cover up like what are the files that make up a virtual machines that you have previously asked me also. So yeah, we will discuss about the files that make up a virtual machine. Then we will compare. I mean, what are the hardware versions that virtual machine? We will compare it with other versions also, and we will describe the components of virtual machines, and we will compare what are the different methods of disk provisioning, virtual disk. So how many types of virtual disk that we can create, that we can provision to a virtual machine. Then how to view the virtual machine console. So like these are some of the files and that make up a virtual machine. When you create a virtual machine name folder got created, as you can see, VM folder, and this VM folder will then listed out these files. So the first is configuration file, that is .vmx file, which contains all the configuration, that is your how many CPUs, how many RAMs, how many NIC cards you have assigned to a VM. So whatever the configuration you have made for the virtual machine, it will cover, it will list it out in VMX file, .vmx file. Then we have two swap files got created. VM name VSWP. Now this this is the virtual machines swap file, and another one is that is VMX-VSWP. Now this swap file is used by the VM kernel. This is we call as an overhead file, which it used to power on a virtual machine. So there are some overhead got created by the VM kernel in case to power on a virtual machine initially. And VSWP file is used in case of when there comes the need of memory overcommitment. So that is used by the guest OS, the swap file. And we have like we have a BIOS in our operating system. So likewise for virtual machines, a BIOS file got created that is called NVRAM. Then a log file which contains the current virtual machine log files. When you power on and power off a VM, you will see some of the like VMware 0 to 6 log files got created 6 times, and these are basically contains the old log entries. So when you see a VMware.log, this will be the current log file for the virtual machine. So this is a rotational file. After every 6th of you can say that when you reach it at VMware 6, then old log entry will be deleted, and it will move on like this: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 0 will be deleted, and 7th virtual machine, 7 VMware log files got created. But the current log entry.
Last 6 log files we can have it, right?
Yes, yes. And then we have a template file that is got VMTX file. When you create a virtual machine template, then this file got created. Then we have a raw device mapping file, which is RDM, that means a raw learn, which is directly yeah.
So what is the the frequency of the log files? I mean, when the logs get created, whenever we create a new VM, the logs get created for that new VM.
Yes, right? When you power on, every power and power off also got recorded. So it is basically when you power on a VM, then this log file is created, and you switch it off, then log file are deleted. Then there are some other files related to the snapshot, and also there is a file that is suspend state, that contains the suspend state of the virtual machine when you suspend a VM. And the use of snapshot files we will discuss in the snapshot module, where we have a dedicated lesson. So each and it will be more clear when we discuss in the relative lesson. So these are the files that got created and makes up a virtual machine. There are some other files also got created, but their existence does not make any effect on the virtual machine. Now see here, we are talking about the virtual machine's hardwares. As you can see, you can have up to 128 vCPUs. This is the maximum limit. And you can have up to 4 TB of RAM. You can have a hardware 3D card if your virtual machine contains a application that requires graphics. So you can attach a graphics card to it if your hardware have the if your hardware supports that.
So we can only have up to 4 TB of RAM.
Yes.
Can't increase that?
No, this is the maximum limit by the VMware that you can give to a virtual machine. And similarly, you can there are limitations on NIC cards, like you can have up to 10 NICs assigned to a virtual machine if physically you have. Okay, these are, you can say that, the physical limitations basically. That maximum you can assign this much to a virtual machine. Then you have two ID controllers for CD, DVD drives. You have parallel ports and serial ports to attach if you want to, scanners and printers. Then HCI SATA drives if you want to attach with the virtual machines. Then you have one USB controller device one USB controller that supports up to 20 devices. And also you can have up to 4 SCSI adapters, and for each SCSI adapter you can attach up to 15 devices. Okay, so these are the virtual machines hardware that it has in hardware version 11, and 11 is the latest with supported with the vSphere 6. Okay, so now talking about virtual hardware versions. So with, as I said, with ESXi 6 and later, the supported virtual machine hardware version is 11. And this is the case. Now each virtual machine is compatible, has a compatibility level support. Let's say you are running a 5.0 version, then the hardware support is 8. So it can support up to 8. That means it also supports 7, hardware version 7.
Okay, got it.
Got it? So you can only upgrade a hardware version if, let's say, if you are running VMware, now you have installed the VMware ESXi 6, and currently the virtual machine hardware version is 10. So you can upgrade it to 11, but from 11 you cannot downgrade it. One way process it is. Now it depends upon what you have exactly on your server. Let's say if you have installed vSphere 6, then virtual machine 11 up to 11 it will be supported, and if it is 5.5, then up to 10 it will be supported. Now about CPU and memory, as I said, that maximum number of vCPUs that you can assign to a virtual machine is 128, and this assignment is basically depends on the number of logical CPUs that you have on host, how much the host license it supports, and the installed guest operating. Similarly for memory, yes, you can have the compatibility up to 4 TB, that means 4000 GB. So it depends upon how much memory you have physically on host, and what is the virtual machine's compatibility with the ESXi. Means if it is virtual machine 6, with hardware version 11, then you can have up to 4 TB of RAM. Now let's talk about virtual machines, about virtual disk of a virtual machine. Now when you create a virtual machine, you define some hard disk size to it. So a hard disk of virtual machine, we call it as virtual disk. Now as we have discussed that two virtual machine files got created for virtual disk. One is .vmdk and another one is flat.vmdk. Now vmdk is a pointer file that points to this flat.vmdk, and flat.vmdk is the that contains the actual data. So it's just it contains the metadata vmdk or the pointers, and the actual data is contained in the flat.vmdk. Now it's a sample of a virtual disk definition. You define the size like 8 GB. You define the data store on which you want to place these files, and you define the virtual disk node, that is 00, and you define the storage adapter. Now the ESXi host offer the choice of adapters, whether to choose bus logic parallel, LSI logic parallel, VMware para virtual SCSI. So these are the adapter types, and it depends upon the type of operating system you selected. So it is automatically detected. So as I said, two virtual disk files are got created, .vmdk and flat.vmdk. Now disk mode, it will show you whether you want, there are two modes, we call it as dependent and independent. So in dependent mode, we can say that the snapshots are allowed, but in independent mode, snapshots are not allowed. So we will talk about it later in the snapshots chapter. In independent mode, there are two things, persistent and non-persistent. Persistent, as you maybe know, that it will your data will retains on the disk, whether you power on, whether you power off the virtual machine. And in non-persistent mode, your data will get lost if you power off the virtual machine. Now there are disk provisioning types that you can define, that is thin, whether you want a thin disk or whether you want a thick disk.